Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jared Bidney. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the jump mat and the jump mat reliability, its consistency. Is it accurate? Can you cheat the jump mat? And specifically, what I'm talking about is the Just Jump Mat system that can be found on the internet. So years ago, when I first started the gym, I had a lot of volleyball girls. I actually had more female athletes than I did male athletes, and they were coming to me to get better better jumping results. So for a volleyball girl, the higher or closer they get to 10-foot touch on the vertex, the thing where you jump up, hit the slats, and they move. And so a lot of their stuff was measured in feet. So you had a 5'6" girl going against a 5'11" girl. Well, the 5'11" girl's got an advantage because she's taller, she's got longer arms. So for the shorter girls, the 5'9s and stuff, trying to get to D1 scholarships, we have to jump, and we got to get as close to 10, if not above 10, if we can. And so we would come in, we'd train, we'd jump on boxes, we'd jump off boxes, we'd jump over boxes, we would do depth jumps, we'd do all kind of variations of jumping. And our jumps, we would primarily jump. We didn't do a lot of lifting. We may have Bulgarian squatted here and there, we may have lunged here and there, we may have squatted here and there, but the lifting was not very consistent. And so the girls would come train with me for 3-4 months, and they'd go try out for their club team, hoping to get a better result than they did the year before. Well, some of the girls would jump 8'8" the year before. After training with me, they'd jump 8'9", or they may jump 8'8" again, or some of them may jump 8'7". And the girls who were jumping 9'3" may jump to 9'4" or 9'5", but not that much of an improvement as far as what you would think you'd get out of training. And so I was like, man, if I don't figure this out, I'm going to be out of business, because I got to get these girls up, because that's all I had was the females. And so we just kept working and innovating. I would buy science practice of strength training and science of sport training and try to get stuff and put stuff together. And I was like, geez, this still is not working. And I had a guy who already had some experience, and I got him to dunk basketball in high school. And then I started gathering more and more male clients. So I had a mixture of male and female, and I was just still trying to figure out, I need to take care of my female athlete. I got to get them higher. I got to prove to them. You know, I graduated in Memphis with exercise science degree. I've been studying strength conditioning since I was 12, and I was trying to prove to them I can actually help you. And I wanted to help them. I wanted to figure this stuff out. And so I go get a biomechanics book, read biomechanics, what's the biomechanics of jumping, what muscles are involved. And one, the science and practice, explosive power and jumping ability is another book that I read. And the thing it mentioned is, the stronger you are, the faster you move. So I started adding more and more weight training and stuff, but I was still not quite getting it. So I bought a plow swing from Westside Barbell, because, you know, more plows, more jumps, and stuff was just still not working right. And so jumping more was kind of not the answer at that point. So I bought this, and I was reading stuff on the ground contact time for plyometrics to try to be a little bit more innovative. So I had the Westside Barbell plow swing. So I bought a jump mat, because my intention of getting the jump mat was to use it to train with. And so I was going to get it. I was going to bolt it, screw it, nail it, tape it, or something to the plow swing, so that we could work on different things. So I was going to use the plow swing with the jump mat. And as I got the jump mat in, it's pretty heavy, and it's rubber coated, but it's kind of got like a metal plate within it, or some type of something in it that's metal. And I didn't want to take a screw or a nail and screw it to it, then mess up the computing system for it. And I was not concerned with jump height, because with the plow swing, you use bands, because you got the kinetic energy formula, basically the thing behind that, and Vertimax, where you got your bungees on the side of you. And the basics of it is going to slingshot you back to the ground or to the platform, because in the kinetic energy formula, K equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So if you look at that, velocity is more important than adding more load to the plow swing. So that's why the bands, and that's why the Vertimax thing worked. But I was also reading in the National Strength Conditioning Association Research Journal, because, you know, I thought about buying the Vertimax too, and it said depth jumps outperformed the Vertimax. So I don't have to spend an extra couple of grand for a jumping result. So I just stuck with the depth jumps. And then later on, reading Verkhoshansky stuff, in order to increase our jump height, if someone was jumping 30 inches, we may use if they were jumping at 26 inches, we may use a 30-inch box. So jump, land, boom, explode up. Our ground contact was a little bit longer at the time because we was working on more of the explosive ability instead of the reactive ability. Was working on more explosiveness and not as much elasticity. So started doing that, and I still, after all that was like 3, 4 years, we're not getting the results that I wanted. So I came up with dumbbell jumps, and dumbbell jumps comes from super training, science of sports training, and science of practice of strength training. Those three books really helped mold me into how I pick the load for the athletes, what jumps, when to change weights, and all the intricacies of the dumbbell jumps that we go. And so all that's in that jump book that I wrote. And the jump book is not a very big book. It's very thin, almost like a coloring book. But the information in there is not designed for everybody out there in the world. It's designed for strength coaches, and it's designed for trainers like myself trying to get these athletes to jump higher. Because after all those years of struggling, I finally figured it out how to put a formula together to get these athletes to jump higher. And so a lot of times when my athletes leave the gym and they're somewhere, they're like, how do you jump so high? Because with the athletes, with us jumping so high in the gym all the time, everybody feels inferior until they step outside the gym. They're like, damn, I didn't realize I was out jumping that many people like that. So all that information's in that small little jump book. Tells you how to choose the weight, when to choose the weight, when to change, and so forth and so on, and also how I came up with the dumbbell jumps. But so I started dumbbell jumping my athletes. We would come into the gym. The first thing we would do is we would dumbbell jump because usually you want to do your most explosive thing first. Then we'd go squat, and in between our squats, we would still do depth jumps. So we had dumbbell jump, squat, and superset squat with depth jumps. We did 2 depth jumps in between each set of squats. And one day I had this kid. He came up to me. For some reason, I filmed him. His name's Brooks, and he was on a 30-inch box. And when he landed, and I videoed him, and when he landed and he jumped, that just looked like, okay, is that really that high? And then I put it in slow motion to see if I could see any technical issues going on with him or whatever. When he landed on that mat and he jumped back up in the air, his feet were higher than that 30-inch box. And I was like, man. And he jumped a 33-inch vertical, and his feet were approximately 33 inches, 3 inches above that 30-inch box. I said, you cannot deny that ground clearance. That is up there. But if you're looking at it in fast motion, just human, like, oh, I'm scrolling through Reels or I'm scrolling through YouTube Shorts or whatever, it looks like it's just an average jump. And so, and he'd been doing the dumbbell jumps, and as we were doing the dumbbell jumps, our vertical jumps per month were going up about 2 inches. Now, about 2 inches now. Back then, it was going up about an inch, inch and a half per month. So I was like, man, we have something. So I had this kid, did not have a very high vertical. He had like he went from, when we moved into the new gym in about 12, he, in about a year, went from a 30-inch vertical to a 42-inch vertical at 210 pounds. So I was like, geez, that's, then more and more athletes were more and more competitive. And then I eventually had a girl touch 10.3, maybe 10.4. I'm not sure. I also had a girl jump on a 49-inch box, which is still probably the box jump record for a female. And so once I figured out, I just kind of like kept all that, and I just started filming athletes over and over jumping. And for the first time, I was actually getting 12-inch improvements. I've had kids go, from a 28-inch vertical to a 42-inch vertical in 16 to 20 week ranges. And so I was really starting to hammer out these verticals. But, it's people want to crack on the jump mat because they say it's not accurate or you can cheat it. Well, when you jump up in the air and you land on the mat, we do land with our knees slightly bent or even bent. And you've got to absorb the force. If you got your people out there that, hey, you can cheat it. Hey, that's not really 40 inches. That's not really 42 inches. The inferior will always criticize the superior. So if they're not good at it, they're going to criticize you or try to put, hey, that's not really that accurate. Hey, that's not. Well, number one, they don't know how to improve the jumps like that. Number two, they're in denial because they wish that they could do it. And if they were able to jump that high, they'd be talking and praising it too. But the jump mat's a training device. We're not just using it to test. we're using in day-to-day jumps with loads up to 40 pounds in each hand, um, all the time. We got people just different weights and all that stuff's in that book for the people that want to know. But it allows us to come into the gym. Oh, I jumped to 27.1 with 30s. Well, next time if I jump a 27.7 with 30s, I know I got better my next workout. The next workout, if I jump at 28.1 with 30s, I know I got better. It's a way for us to measure and track our training progress over time. If you had the slats, or if you can't really jump up and hit that with your head with load in your hand and be more accurate. With a jump mat, you got the 27.1, 27.3, 27 point whatever it is. It allows you, oh man, if I just push a little harder, just a little harder, I can get up there. And so what it does, it gives you an external feedback device to where, oh, okay, now I'm doing this. And and people want to talk about the force plates. Well, the thing about the force plates, they're metal. They're a testing device, not necessarily a training device. Although the jump mat you can test how high they jump on it. But we actually use it to train the jump so that we're actually able to jump higher. So sometimes my athletes, we just will jump with the weight all the time, and I may just test the unloaded weight at the end of the month just to prove that, hey, because a lot of people want to focus on jumping without load. Well, just like I said, is if you try to get your bench to go up without adding weight, it's not going to move up. If you try to get your squat to go up without adding weight, your squat's not going to move up. You have to have some type of external resistance in order to prove a physical quality. So what we do is we'll use squats. Squats build our strength. You actually create and recruit more fast twitch fibers with squatting. So we're building to jump and be explosive. You have to have fast twitch fibers. You've all heard that. So in order to do fast twitch fibers, you have to squat within a certain load range and a certain rep range. So we're not squatting. No, we never squat more than 5 reps. And now we're also working at squats at different bar velocities. So sometimes we'll use our 3s to push our 4s to push our 5s, and our 5s to push our 6s as far as meters per second. For those and have been listening or watching or following me for a while, we know we use a 10 for our squat and things like that. So what we'll do is we'll use the squat to build more fast twitch fibers over time. And then what the jumps do, because we squat and we jump in the same day, and we squat and jump 3 days a week. So we'll use our squats to build our fast twitch fibers. Then we use our dumbbell jumps with a specific load for them to work on how those fibers are now recruited and fired. So squats build more fast twitch fibers. The dumbbell jumps sharpen the rate at which those fibers are used. So we use them in the squats. And now with the squats and the jump, we don't even run all month. And I can average 1/10 of a second off an athlete per month just by jumping and squatting. And if they're not pushing their jumps up, sometimes their 40-yard dash times will lag behind, because you can get an athlete to squat. Yes, we may have been recruiting and working on fast twitch fibers, but without the jumps, those fibers are not being fired at a high frequency in order to transfer over to the 40-yard dash. So, and like I said, I don't know if the jump mat has it necessarily built in, but when we jump and we land, you have to absorb the force. You don't want to blow your knees out. You don't want to tear the cartilage or your disc in your knees. You don't want to blow herniate a disc, because the people that are criticizing, hey, that's not accurate, they just kind of want to degrade the people. Hey, you need to land with your legs straight. Well, that's a great way to get hurt. And I think the thing about the jump mat, I think it's got something built, because we land with bent knees. We're not landing straight-legged. And the thing about that is, you can't deny how high these athletes are jumping. You got this kid like Brooks off of a 30-inch box, landed, jumped, and he landed with a 33-inch vertical. But yet, if you slow the video down, you can see his feet are clearly higher than the box that he just jumped off of or performed a depth jump off of. And then a couple of years later, I filmed Ben Baggett. Because when you jump, again, it does not look like you jump as high as what you have. And so, you got a crowd of people around. So he was on that box, landed, jumped high, jumped level. He actually jumped a 30-inch vertical, performed a 30-inch vertical off of 30. His feet were dead even with the box, and he landed with his knees bent to absorb. So I think that jump mat has it calculated. It may have the calculation in there to factor in for the landing aspect of it. And I also had this kid, he jumped a 27-inch depth jump off of a 30-inch box, and his feet were about 3 inches. So a lot of times when I'm seeing this stuff, even with these athletes with their bending the knees and things like that, they're still higher than that box. But the people that don't know these numbers and don't know all this result, they're going out and criticize, hey, you bent your knees. Hey, you did this. Can you cheat it? You can probably land in a great, almost cannonball squat, and I don't think it's going to be more than 3 inches difference. I'm not. You could probably. I would probably err on the side plus or minus two. Minus, so you can probably add 2 inches maybe. But the thing about it, once you cheat it, so if you did a cannonball jump one time, yeah, you remember we're using it to train. We're also using it to test. But the thing about the training is the next time if you jumped a 29 in a cannonball fashion, you got to come in and jump a 29.2 next time, then a 29.5, then eventually try to jump a 30. Um, the thing is once you cheat it, if you did a cannonball jump all the time and that's your jump, it's still going to have to improve. So if you go from a cannonball jump from a 29 to a 34, it's going to bring up your other jump, even if it's more strict form. So you say you got to jump a cannonball at a 29 and you jump strict form at a 27. Well, once you get to a 36, your strict form is still 34, or even a 33. No matter what, it's still improved. So they can say cheat it, whatever. But once you cheat it, you got to still beat it in training. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But the whole thing is with the girls back in the day, they would come into the gym and they'd go somewhere else, and they were tested by someone else. The whole thing about I have athletes. That's what I deal with primarily is all athletes. When someone else tests them, like if you're going to a Nike Spark and you're running the 40-yard dash, and the kid at the gym runs a 4.8 40-yard dash on complete laser, and they say he runs a 5 flat, at that, I know that that place was wrong. Usually, most of the time nowadays, when people leave the gym, if they're running a 5 flat, they may record a 4.8 somewhere. So I'd much rather have them expect or tell someone, hey, I run a 5 flat, then all of a sudden they get a 4.8. They're testing better, the same, if not better, outside the gym than they are inside the gym. Because when the girls were going to get measured with their vertical jumps, because I didn't test a vertical jump all the time when I first had them, we just did all these different tests, these jump activities, and then they'd go out and get tested by their club, then come back and say, Jared, I didn't improve, why is this not working, and things like that, which led me to do more and more research in order to improve this stuff. So over time, I've learned that you have if you're doing this stuff and if you're not testing to see if the stuff is right, you're just kind of shooting in the dark and hoping you get something, and that's not the best way to be. So now these athletes are jumping. I've had people come train for the pro day, get ready for the NFL and things like that. And a lot of them, like Zach Lasky back in the day, was skeptical of the jump mat because you have to train your jump, and then it will transfer to the Vertec. It will transfer to the slats, and just because you're not reaching up, hitting a slat, it feels different. And you got to learn how to push against external force. So if I can get someone to jump a 30-inch vertical with 30 pounds in each hand, they put that football equipment on, they're jumping 30 inches on the field instead of being weighed down. Also, when you got to move people in sport like football, you got to move them around basketball, or you got to jump up with people around you, you got to have a little bit more force to get through that resistance that may be resisting you on the way up. But anyway, so Lasky was training me, and we did dumbbell jumps. And from mid-January to mid-March, January 10th to like March 10th, he went from a 32-inch vertical to a 35-inch vertical. But his body weight went from 217 to 234. So we had an increase in body weight. We also had an increase in jump height. And so at his pro day with the slats, which he jumped on the Vertec, he jumped a 35.1, his best at the gym. Then on his pro day, he jumped a 35 on the slats. And the Vertec's not a point system. The Vertec, when you're jumping on the slats, is 30, 30 and a half, 31, 31 and a half. They go up by half-inch increments. And so he got the same thing at his Tech Pro Day as he did at the gym with the mat. Now I had this 6'3", 300-pound white offensive lineman trained with me for years. I got this kid, this 300-pound lineman, to jump a 34-inch vertical in the gym. Well, he played football for Liberty. Well, his Liberty Pro Day, he jumped a 34-inch vertical. And even better than that, I had this kid, Jordan Yates. He was Georgia Tech quarterback, came with me 3 days a week, trained for a couple months. We went from a 32-inch vertical to a 39.2-inch vertical. And when he got to Sam Houston, he transferred to Sam Houston, and they tested his vertical on the slats. He jumped to 39.5. So he actually jumped higher on the slats than he actually did the mat. And just like when Skowski, the Clemson linebacker, when he jumped to 34 on the mat, he jumped to 34 at his pro day. And those pro day results, you can just pull those up. Skowski pro day results, and even Joey jumped to 38 on the mat. He jumped to 38 at his pro day. And when they came back and training, get ready, you can increase those jumps. And I had another one. This kid Ronnie, he had a pro day at Toledo, and this was just a few weeks ago. He jumped. His best at the gym was a 36.8, and his at his pro day he jumped to 37. So not only am I testing the same thing on Matt, these kids are going outside the gym, getting tested on the Vertec and getting the same numbers on the Vertec. Now the accuracy and how is it truly accurate? I don't know. All I care is these numbers are transferring. These numbers are transferring to these kids trying to get NFL. They're transferring to the kids trying to get a college scholarship when they're going to these things. So now instead of these girls going out, like I keep referring back then, because that's how it all started, was the females trying to figure out that now they're actually leaving the gym and actually getting better. They're actually getting these numbers that they were, now go from 8.8 to a 9.4. Man, you're going to have a lot more girls if you get that. That's the whole point of the system. So I had a girl, she jumped to 29.5 here. And then when she went to Minnesota to play softball, she jumped to 29.5 there. So it's like these people are getting the same numbers on the Vertec as they are the as I am with the dumbbell jumps and jump mat. Even though you can see on the videos, yeah, our knees are bent. Okay, whatever. It still transfers to the Vertec. So, and the thing about what the people want to crap on the force plate, I had Ben Baggett. He was a baseball pitcher at Stanford. When he went to Stanford, those people testing them on the force plate at Stanford were absolutely blown away. He said they could not get over his rate of force development. Because we're squatting, we're creating more fast switch type 2 fibers. And with the dumbbell jumps, we're sharpening the rate at which those fibers are used. And so they were just blown away. And I don't know how they jumped, but he said he did not jump as high on the force plate as he did the jump mat or the Vertec. So I think he may have jumped, he said 23 or 24 inches. I don't know how Stanford had him testing that, but I know that's BS because I don't know anything about. I think the force plates are not necessary unless you're just going to test the vertical. You can use the force plate. You can buy a $3,000-$4,000 force plate and you get the vertical tested. But if you train on that force plate, you're going to damage, especially if you're jumping with weights, because you're just constantly pounding that thing. So now if you take a 230-pound person and you put an extra 60 pounds in the hand, so that person's 290, jumping 30 inches, landing on that force plate, how much abuse can that force plate take over time? Especially I have Watson dumbbells, and those are metal dumbbells, and beat up my force plate. You can use the jump mat to train the vertical jump to try to get it higher. Then if you want to, by all means, use the force plate to test the vertical to see what the difference is. But when he told me he jumped to 23 or 24, whatever vertical that was, I know that was BS because I saw him myself fall from a 30-inch box, land, jump feet level with a 30-inch box, land back on that mat, and it said 30 inches. So he got the exact same thing, or visually from the box he did. And you can't deny, when I post a picture on Instagram or whatever, you cannot deny the ground clearance. And if you look at a kid over time, higher, higher, and higher, because you can look at the background stuff, it's improving their jump. These kids are jumping, and when they're leaving the gym, people ask them, how the hell are you jumping so high? So even I have this kid that plays baseball at Jacksonville State Gamecocks. He, as an incoming freshman, he had the third highest rate of force development on the team, but he was not a 40-inch vertical at the gym. I don't know if his highest was 37 or whatever. But again, you've got another kid getting tested on the force plate and producing the highest rates of force development out there. And when you're playing sports, and if you got to have a quick first step, if you got to go from point A to point B, if you're trying to go 5 yards, if you're trying to go from home to first, if you're trying to go, whether it's baseball or softball, if you're trying to go from the back of the volleyball court to the front of the volleyball court, you have to have high rates of force development to overcome your own inertia and move quicker. And so a lot of our stuff is focused within about a 20 yards or less range because that's how sports are played. And if you want to do all this other stuff to where it takes you a while to build up that speed, you're going to be wrong. You're not going to have what you need in that sport to excel. And I see a lot of these people, they'll do these various jumps and different things like I did. They may come in and do a running approach jump on a box. They may do a running approach jump on the mat. They may do multiple hops on the box. They're changing their jumps up too much. Like we're going to dumbbell jump 3 days a week, every week for as long as we can until we get our success or where we need to be with that stuff. So we're not changing up how we jump. We're not going and doing a running approach vertical. We're not going over running and jumping on boxes. It's kind of like if you're bench pressing, you don't come in and bench press today. You don't come in and incline the next time. You don't come in and floor press. You don't come in the next time do dumbbell bench, then go back to bench and just kind of repeat that cycle. And a lot of these people at school, the schools can't help it. The schools only have a limited time to help these athletes. Like the other day, my athletes were still squatting. It took them an hour to get their squats. Then they went on to their jumps and things like that. But the schools don't have the time to give them the adequate rest and the adequate rest produce the great numbers that they need to do. So their schools are trying to get them in and out. So schools can't help it. It's not their fault because they're limited by constraints of time and whatever the school schedule is. The kids, a lot of kids at the gym have 30 minutes to work out at school. They're going to spend almost that amount of time getting ready to do their first set at the gym and bench, especially if they're benching 365. So the kids, I'm trying to say about the jumps and varying the jumps all the time, you have to pick something and drive it home. So if you want a 40-inch vertical, use your dumbbell jumps to get that 40-inch vertical. Now that you have your jump height, now you can go do these variations and these different jumps because you'll probably need those different qualities. But if you try to chase too many qualities at one time, you'll never succeed. You can only ride one horse with one ass. You can't ride two horses with one ass. So I'm just trying to get this in. So we bench 3 days a week. And right now this year, I should have 3 high school sophomores bench 315 or more. I got this one high school sophomore right now that does 330 for sets of 5 on his bench. He's only 215 to 220 pounds. I got a high school junior right now he's the same thing, 215. He's doing 365 for sets of 3. And so we're not varying our bench up. We may bench and vary our accessories up. So we may bench, then go to floor press with chain, close grip floor press with chain. Next time we may come in floor press or chain again. We may do that 3 workouts in a row. So this week we're doing floor press or chain. Next week we may go to incline. Next week we may go back to floor press or chain or incline for 2 more weeks. We're changing up more of our accessories. Like when we squat, we always squat. We don't come in and we box squat. We don't come in box squat next time, front squat next time. Hey, let's do this variation of boxes. People want to use conjugate or throw that out there. There's no such thing as a max effort day and a dynamic effort day. That's how Louis did it. And I was able to tell him back before he passed away of how I used the conjugate system. Conjugate is raising different levels of strength at the same time. So we're increasing our maximum effort. So we're recruiting more fibers, more motor neurons with the squats. So, and then over here, so that's the maximum effort method. You're trying to recruit and fire all the fibers at optimal discharge frequency with the maximum effort method. And the dynamic effort method, you're trying to sharpen the rate at which those fibers are fired. So you're getting all of them recruited, then you're teaching the recruits how to fire over here. So that's the dumbbell jumps are teaching them how to fire, and the squats are building the fast twitch fibers and so forth. So hopefully I beat that in pretty good. So that's how we're doing it. And for upper body, we don't really do anything dynamically for upper body. We bench, we bench, we bench. We do press downs, bench, floor press, dips, and things of that nature. So if you want to get a result, you have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's not like you're not going to go to class, you're going to learn geometry today, next time you're going to learn algebra 2, next time you're going to learn multiplication, next time you're going to learn calculus. It'd be way too much. And it's kind of like the body's in a technical system. So if you don't have all this dialed in and know how to push for those results, you're going to be leaving a lot of gains on the table. So anyway, I hope that I covered everything that I wanted to. The big thing is yes, we land with our knees bent. Can you cheat it? Maybe a little bit, but I think this could be more what people are going to criticize you for doing that. But, I'm getting the same results outside the gym as inside the gym. And that's all I care about. Am I taking care of it? These athletes are paying me to go from 30-inch vertical to 40-inch vertical, and they're not only getting those numbers in the gym, they're getting them outside the gym. So it's just not me trying to be some guru. I'm just trying to help the athletes that come to me so that when they do go to other places, they're getting the same numbers or better, because it's all about helping them and make sure that they improve. I just have to come up with a way to help them. So anyway, hopefully y'all listen, enjoyed. If you have any questions, please email me at info@Explosive Mechanics, or Instagram Explosive Mechanics, or Twitter @ExplosiveMMC. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.